Okay, we will be beginning in 1 minute. Tayeb, could you hear me well?
Yes,
Assalamualaikum.
yes, Mr. Hamza.
13 hours.
Alaikum
Assalamualaikum.
salam.
How are
Wa
you?
alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a
It's
very
very
long
good to see you,
time.
Mr. Hadza.
Yes. It's very nice to see you, Dr. Tayeb. It's finally happening. So, how's there in Kabul? Yeah, I haven't heard anything from you for so.
Alhamdulillah. Things are better, inshallah. Things are hopeful. We are hoping for a better future here, a peaceful future, which we're going to talk about it with friends, share it with
Yes.
friends, the status, the progress,
Mm.
in the hopes, the challenges. Inshallah, alhamdulillah, Kabul is very good, beautiful, and looking for peaceful days, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah,
How is
Alhamdulillah.
how are you? How is family and everyone there?
Indonesia is very hot and humid. We are
Oh, yeah.
still, what is it, looking at cases of COVID keep increasing every day, but we are healthy, Alhamdulillah, here. Our family are fine. Our students
Alhamdulillah.
are good also. They are attending right now. And slowly but sure, our students are entering the Zoom, so we will be having a very nice discussion today, inshallah. Okay, so shall we begin now because it's already 1 o'clock here and 10 o'clock in Kabul, I think. Shall we begin it now? Tayeb, are you ready?
Uh, that's very good. That's very good. Let me say hi and maybe I forgot the Malaysian.
Sorry. Uh, okay, I'm sorry. I think that Mr. Tayyip's signal is not really good, so we will have to wait for him. I think since he is online from his. Okay, so here he is. Please, Tayyip, please continue with your remarks. Hello, can you hear me? I think you should try to unmute.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now
please.
I can hear. Shall we start our session?
Yes. But first of all, I would like to introduce yourself first. Okay. If
Yeah,
that's fine.
sure.
Okay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and good morning to everyone, all friends. Good afternoon there, but it's good morning here.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to all friends, students, lecturers, visitors, and everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. My name is Muhammad Tayyib, Tayyib Islami. Islami is my surname, family name. I live in Kabul. I am from the east part of Afghanistan, which is called Jalalabad, a neighboring city to Pakistan. Done my bachelor degree here in Afghanistan, then my master's in my PhD back in Turkey. Luckily, I met Mr. Hadza in my PhD term back in Turkey. My bachelor is business, but of course, as a young Afghan, I am in politics. I work with the government here, in the president's office. There is a section by the call the development section of the president office, which we have a section which is called National Development Corporation. Normally, we do all the development construction projects through this unit. And I teach in 2 universities here, mostly business classes. And I'm 29 years old, and I'm here today in front of you guys.
Yes. It's very nice to host you here. Since you are young and also having a very strategic position in the government, it is a valuable meeting between our students and you, so you could share some inspiration from Afghanistan to Indonesian students as well. So Tayyip, I would
Thank
like to
you.
start. Yeah, I would like to start with one
Thank
question.
you. Give me
Yeah.
some answer.
Yes. Dr. Tayyip, I would like to begin with one question. Could you explain in brief about the political system in Afghanistan, how it works and how it developed until now? Could you explain it in brief, please?
Thank you, Mr. Hadza. Before going to the political system, let's first understand where Afghanistan locates,
Yes.
because normally the political systems has very close relationship with our geographical locations. If you guys heard about the Russian invasion, about the American invasion, about the British invasion, it's all about geographical location. Afghanistan is located in South Asia, neighboring China in one side, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan on the other side. Uh, we have Pakistan and Iran on the other side. Actually, we are connecting one part of the Asia with another part of the Asia. So strategically, we have important in strategic location in this part of the Asia. That's why normally the big powers are coming here and trying to invade Afghanistan. The capital city of Afghanistan is called Kabul. You have just mentioned before how is Kabul. So Kabul is the capital city of Afghanistan. We have a few more big cities like Jalalabad, Mazar, Herat, but Kabul is the capital city. One other point which in the history made the political system of the country is the availability of the ethnic groups in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is home for so many ethnic groups. In our history, we have faced so many problems due to this huge number of ethnicities. In the same time, the ethnic groups are our strength points as well. Like when you're analyzing in business sector and organization, you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses. So the ethnic group in our history was our strength and our weaknesses. Okay, so the biggest ethnic groups are Pashtun, Tajik, Uzbek, Hazara, Turkmen, and so many other minorities available in Afghanistan. The people of Afghanistan are normally Muslims. 99 point maybe 5% of the people are Muslims. We have Hindu minorities. Normally, the system or maybe the Islamic system is based on Hanafi fiqh. Hanafi fiqh is the base for all political system in Islamic system. But we have, of course, Shia minorities as well. In their pursuits, they are following the Shia, the Jafari fiqh, which we call it Jafari fiqh as well. If we come to the economy, Afghanistan is not a very developed country, even not a developing country. We are the least developed countries due to the problems that we faced, or the conflicts that we have been faced since maybe 50 or 60 years. This was a general background where Afghanistan is, how people live there. Normally, the people who live in Afghanistan are their daily income are from the agriculture. 90% or maybe 85% of the people are running their lives with the agriculture. The rest, 15 to 20%, they are involved in business in the government agencies. After giving a brief information about Afghanistan, now I'm going to enter slowly to the political background of the Afghanistan. How a country by the name of Afghanistan existed in this very conflicted areas where American on the one side, American bloc, and then the Russian bloc on the other side, then the Chinese bloc on the other side. Three big blocs, or maybe we can call it the communist bloc on the one side, the socialist bloc on the other side, and then the capital bloc on the other side. So if you're somewhere in the middle of these three blocs, you might be eaten by any of them, because fighting with all these three blocs are very difficult. But we were successfully in some points, and we had our problems in some points. The name Afghanistan was under so many emperors in the story. But the modern Afghanistan, which we have it today, the name Afghanistan, initially founded by Ahmad Shah Durrani in 1747. 1747, Ahmad Shah Durrani collected the tribes I have called before, the Pashtun tribes, the Tajik tribes, the Uzbek tribes, the Hazara tribes, and they made an army, and then they decided to have a country by the name of Afghanistan. They separated it from Iran, they separated it from other all neighboring countries, and created a country by the name of Afghanistan in 1477. Then we were going slowly, slowly until the British colonization. The British colonization affected all Muslim world, not only Afghanistan, all neighboring countries. Afghanistan was part of Indian British colonization, and we had three very famous wars with the Britishers. Then at the end of third Afghan Britain war, we got our independence from the British in 1990. So in 1990, normally we are celebrating as Britishers. Then from 1923, this was, you might in Facebooks or in social medias, once Afghanistan was a very developed country, once Afghanistan was a very modern country, once Afghanistan was a very democratic country. That era was from 1990 to 1973, after independence from the Britishers until the Russian invasions. What happened in 1973? Why this modernization in democratic Afghanistan turned into a country of war, in a country of conflicts? In 1973, there's a very famous Afghan king by the name of Dawood Khan. That was the first coup in Afghanistan, military coup. Dear students, military coups are destroying countries. Please, as a political students, keep this point in your mind that military coups destroying systems, destroying countries, destroying people, and destroying infrastructures. So the first coup, Dawood Khan came to the existence until 1978. In 1978, because Russia is our neighbor country, communism raises in this area. And so many people who studied in Russia came from Russia to Afghanistan and started propaganda in communism, in communist ideologies in Afghanistan. They tried to get to the power by the Russian. Slowly, in 1979, Russia invaded Afghanistan. Russia came into Afghanistan with the help and support of their communist puppets here in Afghanistan. Russia did not come peacefully. Russia fought in Afghanistan for almost 10 years, killed thousands and millions of people, destroyed cities, destroyed buildings, destroyed schools. And then this era that we are now locating, everyday bombing, everyday killing, everyday situation, this started from the Russian time. So Mujahideen were the people who started fighting against Russians. Mujahideen were the Muslim people, the ideologist people who were against the communism idea, who were asking for Islamic Sharia to rule the country. These started jihad. Of course, see, as a political student, if your enemy's enemy is your friend, see, your enemy's enemy is your friend. Now the American bloc has nothing to do with jihad, has nothing to do with Mujahideen. But because the Mujahideen were fighting with the Russians, the Americans supported Mujahideen through Pakistan, give them funds, give them guns, give them everything. And by the support of international help, the Mujahideen were able to defeat Russia. So Russia left Afghanistan in 1989. 1989. Now, this is the point I think which we're going to answer it in second question, which the war, the civil war or the conflict between ethnicities starts. I will not talk about it, maybe later on the question I'll talk about it. From 1989 until Taliban, in Afghanistan, every tribe had a leader who were fighting against Russians. And when they defeated Russian, they couldn't sit on a table to decide who is going to lead the country for coming years. So instead of sitting on table, talking, they started fighting each other. They started killing each other. Let me clarify one thing, dear students. The civil war in Afghanistan was not ethnic group wars. It was not ethnicities not liking each other. It was not people hating each other. It was politicians using ethnicity names to reach their political aims. Please clarify this. I am Pashtun. I love Hazara. I love Tajik. I love Uzbek. I love every single person in Afghanistan from any ethnic group. But the person who called himself as a Pashtun leader, as Hazara leader, as a Turkmen leader, as a leader, for their own political aims, used the ethnicity name. And the civil war started. The civil war went for 6 years. For 5 years, thousands and millions of people died. Kabul is destroyed fully. All big cities are destroyed. Economically, we went down. Then there was a group by the name of Taliban in Kandahar raised and said, come on, guys, how can we live in a country like this? So they started to finish the internal war from Kandahar. Of course, with the strong support of Pakistan. See, they came across, they fought Mujahideen, they threw Mujahideen from the government, and they took the government. The only, maybe people disagree with me, the very good point of Taliban at the beginning was they ended civil war. Civil war ended by the day of Taliban took over 95% of Afghanistan. And the 5% remaining was the Northern Ally, which I think it's not a topic for these days, who struggled against the Taliban for so many times, which figures like Ahmad Shah Massoud was the head of Northern Allies, indeed fought until the American invasion of Afghanistan. Taliban ruled Afghanistan for almost 6 years, until in 2001, the 11th September happened. In 11th September, those huge 2 business centers collapsed. And the Americans and the Westerns claimed Osama bin Laden to be the person behind the collapsing of these business towers. And the Osama bin Laden ran away to Afghanistan, to the Taliban's government. The international community, United States of America, asked Taliban to give them Osama bin Laden, but they didn't. There were reasons, but it's not topics of today. We're not going to the reasons why they didn't. Then, getting support of international community, NATO, ISAF, American troops came to Afghanistan with the support of Northern allies who were fighting against Taliban, even in Taliban's era, bombardment Afghanistan, threw the Taliban's government from the power, killed, so many people were killed from the both sides. And then a Bonn conference held in Germany to think about Afghanistan's future political system. Then on interim government of 2.5 years were agreed on one conference. Karzai was the person who agreed on to come to interim government to run Afghanistan. Then in 2004, the first ever election happened, democratic election happened, and Karzai was elected for 5 more years until 2009. And then in 2005, for the first time, election for National Assembly happened. People voted for their representatives in National Assembly in 2009. And then until today, we had three more votings in elections. The current president of Afghanistan is Ashraf Ghani, which we had election in 2019, and we are running the country. From the political point of view, Afghanistan is the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. We have a constitution which was made in 2005. The constitution is taken from Quran and Sunnah. It's not Sharia law. The country is not ruling by Sharia, but the constitution is taken from the Quran and Sunnah. The first article of the constitution is nothing in the country in constitutions can be against the Quran and the Sunnah. We have three powers in the country, which are executive, legislative, and judiciary. In the executive sections, we have president. President is the head of the state who is ruling the country. And also the president is chief in command of the armed forces. Okay. Then we have cabinet members, cabinet ministers who are appointed by the president and approved by the National Assembly. And then we have provincial governors. This is what we have in executives. Then we have legislative. In legislative, we have National Assembly, Parliament, and we have Elders' House. Parliament members are coming by votes. People are voting for them. They're coming to existence. But the Elder House are chosen. 3 or 4 part of the Elder House is chosen by the president, and one part of it chosen by the consuls, provincial consuls and district consuls. Then we have judiciary, which is Supreme Court, looking after all judiciary issues. And the president is appointing the head of the Supreme Court. The president has 2 vice presidents, the first vice president and the second vice president. Some of the country's issues are the first vice president is looking for some of the issues in the country, and the second vice president is looking for some other issues of the countries. This is overall the political system that we have today in Afghanistan.
Are you finished with the explanation about the political system?
Yes. Yes.
I think it's very interesting to know that on your remark that you've mentioned that the conflict in Afghanistan is not merely an ethnic conflict. Meanwhile, the Western media always try to showcase that whatever happening in Afghanistan is because the ethnic are contesting with each other. So I would like to hear more from you about the current condition of Afghanistan and also the conflicts that are currently happening in the country and how the government is responding to that conflict.
Thank you, Mr. Hazza. Thank you. Well, to be honest, if you look at the economical perspective of the country, of course, we are better than 10 years ago. We are better than 20 years ago. We are more better than 30 years ago. Now we have roads, we have vehicles, we have transportation systems, we have internet, so we can, we can do some Zoom meetings. We have at least initial institutions, government institutions, we have banking sectors. Economically, the country overall improved, not at the level that we were expecting, or the Afghan people were expecting that they will see the development in this 20 years, where the funds from all around the world were coming to Afghanistan, and the promises which made to Afghan people. Well, it's not in that level, but still, we cannot close our eyes on the development that happened on the economical part of the country. When we goes to the security issues or the conflict issues, the issue is still there. One side of the country is the Afghan government. The other side of the country is the Taliban, which the Afghanistan called the Afghan government in the international community called them insurgent groups or terrorists. They called yourself the real people who should claim the state of the Afghanistan, who are the real owner of the state of the Afghanistan. And then in the third part of in the third angle of the circle is the Afghan people, the Afghan government, the Taliban, the Afghan people. The Taliban in Afghan government are still in conflicts. Yesterday or the day before yesterday in Helmand, it was a full 2 days war, where so many soldiers from the government side and so many soldiers from the Taliban side died. The government is insisting on keeping the institutions and keeping the democratic ways of selecting the government. Taliban is insisting on being them as the proclaimer of the government or the owner of the government. What left is the Afghan people. The Afghan people do not want the government, claiming them they are very good and very true, do not support 100% Taliban. The only thing they need is peace. It doesn't matter whoever comes. Even, see, let me give an example just as a break for the students. I was in a taxi with a few people. It was a local bus with the people. And then I asked, like, guys, who is better to rule the country? Taliban, the Afghan government, who? They said, it doesn't matter. Let Donald Trump come and run the country, rule the country. But we need peace. We need peace. We need end of conflict. So people even agree for Donald Trump to come and rule the country, but they want to live in peace. This is a real picture of Afghanistan. There must be compromises from both sides, from the Afghan government and from the Taliban. If compromise does not happen, if discounts on what they want does not happen, if they do not turn to the Afghan people, to the local people, then we're not going to go through an end to this conflict, or maybe a solution to this conflict. The ethnic groups now are closer from the past to each other. The ethnic group realized that they were used by their elders. Now, if we are going, we will never ever go to an ethnic war again. Never ever. But there is a small problems of the religious conflicts, that Iran on one side and then the Hanafi bloc on the other side may try to use this option for another war or maybe another conflict in Afghanistan in this region.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was very enlightening for us, because in Indonesia, we often follow the Afghanistan conflict through Western media, and that's why it is very important for us to hear the native Afghanistan perspective in order to understand the issue better. Coming up to the next question, Dr. Tayeb, what do you think is the main reason why Taliban and government has hard time to reconcile with each other? Why is it so hard to negotiate with Taliban in your perspective? What is your opinion?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hazza. Let me tell a very short story of how the peace process progress, and then we will come to this point. Is it okay? If
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Fine. Fine. Please. Please.
okay. In 2001, when the American troops came to Afghanistan and thrown the Taliban from the power, the Taliban went from the cities to the urban areas, to the rural areas, into the mountains to fight against the American troops and the Afghan government. Keep one thing in mind, students, please. The Taliban still think that the Afghan government is not a legal government. They think that Afghan government is only a puppet or just a person which American troops or the international community brought him and set him there. So they are not legalizing it. They started after 2001, started fighting against the American troops and the Afghan troops. They called upon people, either you stand beside Americans or you stand beside the Taliban. The fight started, and then for few years, because everyone was facing a new system, Americans were there, nobody thought of or maybe raised their voice for peace talks with the Taliban until 2007. In 2007, for the first time, Hamid Karzai, the ex-president of the Afghanistan, he called upon Taliban and asked him, let's sit on a table and talk and find a solution for the Afghan conflict. Initially, Taliban rejected. Then again in 2009, Karzai again called upon them to come and join let's talk about the peace process. Let's talk. Let's make a mutual government, a combined government. Then they again ignored and rejected from the Taliban side. Even in that time, I remember in 2009, Karzai called them brothers. In 2009, calling Taliban brothers were like brutal, someone who is brutal to the country, who is not honest to the country. But Karzai, as a president, called him brothers and asked him, come, let's join the country. Then after that, overall, the peace talks or the peace process in Afghanistan is directly related to the power or to the political system in the United States of America. The Obama administration had a different perspective through the peace process in Afghanistan, while Donald Trump administration have a different one. Obama sent more troops in 2010 to Afghanistan to fight Taliban. But Donald Trump today is calling soldiers home to end this war. In Obama's administration, there were two blocs. A bloc who were thinking of a military solution to this war. In one bloc was who were thinking the similar as Donald Trump thing is that no, the military solution is not a solution for Afghanistan's wars. The peace talks are the only solution for Afghanistan. From 2009 until 2018, so many people tried, so many countries tried. The Russia tried, Pakistan tried, Iran tried, the Germany tried, American troops tried to bring Taliban to the table as a political party. But Taliban were not coming to the table as a political party. They were claiming the only authorized government of Afghanistan. If anyone talks to them, they should talk to them as the Afghan government, legal government. And because Taliban are claiming 70% of Afghanistan's land or control of 70% of Afghanistan's land. Until 2018. In 2018, the Donald Trump administration decided to start direct talks with Taliban. Taliban says, Afghan government is a puppet. He is not my side. My side is American troops. They came, they killed me, they thrown me from the government. I want to talk to them. So the American Taliban negotiation started in 2018. After so many gatherings in talks, finally they reached an agreement with the American troops in 2019 in Doha. What was the agreement between Taliban and the Americans? This is very important, dear students. First, America in NATO, United States of America in NATO or international community must withdraw all troops from Afghanistan. This was the first element from the Taliban type. And American forces agreed on exchange for Taliban to do not let Al-Qaeda or any other insurgents to use Afghanistan's lands against the international military, the security of the international world. The second very famous thing was that after peace process between Afghanistan and the Afghan government and the Taliban start. This was also in the agreement. The agreement closed. The American troops started withdrawing. Still, there are some troops. They're going to withdraw it. Some bases will distract. Now, what happens? Your question is why still the Afghan government and the Taliban are not compromising with each other? Because if in this process, Taliban is claiming the full authority, and the Afghan government in the exchange claiming full authority. Afghan government is not accepting Taliban as a very strong part of this country, and Taliban in exchange is not accepting the Afghan government as a strong part of this country. This is one point. The other point is the current Afghan government, it's all around the world, is trying to stay in power. If they reach a compromise, then there will be a new government. There will be an interim government or a new election. And this current government will not be in the power. Power is very important, that they are not getting close to each other. This is internal issues. Of course, there are external issues. Pakistan is there very interested in Afghanistan. Iran is there very interested. See, now the only unsolved point is the Hanafi and Shia fiqh in our peace talks. Do you think the Afghan man, I told you, Afghan want Donald Trump to come. He will not matter if it's Shafi or if it's Hanafi or it's Jafari. We are tired of war, but there's an external factor who is, firing this issue. Oh, this is a big one. No, no, no. Don't do it. Don't talk. Don't accept it. So there are internal issues and external issues that stopping the international talks to happen. But now the good news might be this, that the international community now reached to this point that this peace talk should happen. War is not a solution. The Taliban reached this point that the war cannot end this conflict. The war, the killing, the fightings will not take us to somewhere. And the Afghan government, to some extent, they reached this point that everyday killing is not a solution. So there is a national and international consensus of the peace talks to happen. And we are hopeful that in coming few days, we hear some good news from the peace talks to happen.
Well, thank you for a very lengthy explanation and story. I think it is a very explanatory, especially on how there's always a difficulties in engaging with Taliban because of their interests, as well as there are some external factors contributing to the negotiation. Why negotiation is always hard to do with the Taliban. part. The next question, Dr. Tayeb, if you want to answer to this question, is about the democratization. So how would you think that the democratization would be constructed in Afghanistan in next few years, particularly after the conflict resolution process?
Oh, thank you. Well, Mr. Hatza, Indonesia is an Islamic country to some extent as well. We're Muslim countries as well. When we talk about democracy, unfortunately, the Islamic world do not have their clear definition for their own democracy. When we talk about democracy, we talk about what the West explains, or what the West defines a democracy. Okay, giving you a very, very simple example. Okay, for me, democracy might be to let women go to universities, but for Western countries, the democracy must be let the woman take off their clothes and walk on the streets. That's the difference between my democracy and the Western democracy. Okay, for me, democracy might be when a woman walk on the street, everyone should look at her respectfully. But for Western countries, the democracy might be that my sister and everyone's sister should take off their clothes and put their banners on the streets. So now when we talk about democratization, the democracy West brought to Afghanistan is not a successful strategy to implement here. Okay, so there are two ways. First, to reform the democracy that West is trying to implement here in Afghanistan. Reforming their democracy, or the democratization will be according to our religion, according to our culture, according to our living standards, according to our... See, now, women rights. I personally, alhamdulillah, my mother, my sister is younger than me and she's PhD and she's teaching at an international university. I'm very happy for her. And I want every single woman in Afghanistan to be educated. But what the democracy for me might be, to let every woman access their initial needs, which is healthcare, which is education, which is baby care, the daily needs they want. How can I call something democracy? My sister has no access to go to school, but I'm coming and educating women to go to court for abortion, to go to court for divorce, to fight with your husband, leave your husband, go to the safe houses. See, that's how the democracy differentiate. Now, coming to the main point, the Afghan government in the Taliban are not old-fashioned Taliban anymore. Now they agree on the women education according to the religious standards. Now they're agreed upon working woman for women, or women according to the norms that our culture or society accepts. Same the government side. The difference is that Taliban is going down through the religion, norms, cultures. But the Afghan government is trying to equalize the democratization process of Afghanistan with the Western countries. It's not possible. It's impossible. It's not working here in Afghanistan. It might work in some other countries, but it not more. So if we can bring this balance to the democratization process in Afghanistan, I don't think neither the Taliban nor the Afghan government will oppose it, or the government coming after these peace talks, which most probably, from my point of view, will be a 50-50 government, where 50% of the ideology will be the Taliban, and then the other side of the government. They will not oppose the democratization process, which goes parallel with our religious standards, with our culture norms, with our social norms.
Okay. Okay, that's nice to know from you about the Afghanistan's perspective on democratization. Indeed, it is very hard to do a Western-led democratization in non-Western countries because we have our own model, our own understanding. Especially in the Islamic understanding, we have a very different conception of politics, governments, and also democratization, which will eventually impact on how we will construct our government in the future. Coming up to the next question, related to the peace and also the conflict solution process in Afghanistan, I would like to ask how Afghanistan view the role of third countries like United States, Qatar, or even Indonesia would like to involve in the negotiation process. How Afghanistan government and also Afghanistan people is looking at the roles of the third countries as mediator to the negotiation process from United States, Qatar, and Indonesia recently. Please comment on that.
Thank you. It's a very amazing question, and a very tough one to answer. Let me tell you, I personally, and so many people here, having thinking about the future of the country, really want an Islamic developed country to involve in this peace process. This can be Indonesia, this can be Malaysia, this can be Turkey, this can be Qatar, or so many others. But why many people reject this as well, oppose this? Why? Because in our conflict story, mostly the neighboring Muslim countries did not treat us well, including Pakistan, including Iran, including Saudi Arabia. See, now they're afraid if they let any third countries to involve in this process, they will direct the peace process toward their personal interests. See, that's only the point where everyone is scared of and afraid of. So if we are, or if the people of Afghanistan are assured that, brother, Indonesia is someone who has no link with the Afghanistan, no interest. The only interest we have is to bring peace to our Afghan brothers. The Afghan people were very happily welcome these solutions. And this can be the only solutions. See, brother, let me tell you the truth. We are live and maybe people are broadcasting. West cannot bring us peace. West never ever wanted to bring us peace. Not Britishers, not Russians, not Americans. End of the day, it's me and you who share similar values, who care for each other, who can take us out of this bloody sheds, who can take us to a better place. So yes, Afghan people, a country which has no interest in the past in the Afghan internal issues, which has no political interest like Indonesia, like Malaysia, like Turkey, as I said, they will be more than happy to let them be a third party or maybe observer party in the negotiation talks.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Now, I would like to begin the question and answer session because you will be having Jum'ah prayer after this. So
Yes,
everyone,
please.
if you have any question to Dr. Tayeb, please just ask. If you want to raise your hand and ask the question directly, please just do so by informing me. I think that there have been several questions asked by my students. Is there anyone who would like to ask the question directly, please? From my students, anyone? I think Gufron would like to ask a question. Gufron, would you like to ask the question directly? Hello, Gufron, okay, can you hear me? Gufron or Akmal, or maybe Akmal. Akmal would like to ask the question first. Akmal, please.
Okay, Mr. Hadza, I'm
Yes.
try. Thank you so much, Mr. Tayeb, for your presentation. So I have one question. There are Pashtun in Pakistan and some in Afghanistan, as short as I know, and the Pakistani government has approved and given citizenship to Pashtuns entering Pakistan. Since such an amalgamation exists, there will be some ethnicity related problem. So how to assure that the Pashtun people can preserve their tribal way of living in line with the law and constitutional conduct consequent with the merger? Thank you, Mr. Tayeb.
Oh, thank you, Fran. Thank you.
This is Akmal. This is Akmal. Sorry, this is Akmal. Akmal is asking.
Akmal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Akmal.
Okay.
Yes.
Shall I answer?
Yes. Yes. Please. Please.
Okay. In our language, we call them Pashtun. I think you call it Pakhtan. I hope you mean Pashtun people, the ethnicity group Pashtun, right, Akmal?
Yes, Pashtun.
Very good. Thank you. Well, Pashtun people are not the only people who lives in Pakistan. Pashtun people lives in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in India. In Afghanistan, Pashtuns are in majority, but in Pakistan they are in minority. In Pakistan, the Punjab or the people who speaks Urdu language are in majority. Okay. Now, conflict came from Britishers. When Indian Britishers were here in this area, the part of Pakistan which majority Pashtun lives were belonged to Afghanistan. It was part of Afghanistan. But in the agreement between, I'm so sorry for distraction, my elder brother's son. So this section used to belong to Afghanistan's land. But then there was an agreement between the Afghan king and the Britishers that this part should go to Pakistan and the remaining should stay in Afghanistan. That's how the conflict started. Okay. This is unfortunately in Muslim countries, normally when you are minority, you are gone. And that's what we have to work on it to expand this ideology that no, the majority is someone who says kalima, la ilaha illallah. There is no Pashtun, there is no Punjab, there is no Malay, there is no other ones. This is, unfortunately, we couldn't solve this problem here back in Afghanistan. Now what happens? What is the conflict? Now, those minorities, this long time, hasn't been benefited from what the central part of Pakistan benefited from the government projects. Now they stood up against the government. They are doing very huge protests. They're doing social media campaigns against the government to take their rights. The government took so many of them and put them in jail, to shut them down, to close their mouths. And they still strive. So many of them are killed. Now the central government of Pakistan see the Pashtun tribes in Pakistan as their enemy, calling them Pakistan's enemy, calling them Afghanistan's friend, calling them Indians' friend, and blah, 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 blah. But actually, they are looking for their initial rights that a citizen must have. It doesn't matter if it's a minority or if it's a majority. They are not less. They are 40 million in Pakistan, the Pashtun people. Okay, so the only problem that government is not treating them well, the army is not treating them well, facing them with problems and create problems with them, because now they stood against the government. They're asking for their rights. You're asking, they're claiming, they call the government as a brutal government. They call the government as a racist government.
Okay, Akmal, is that enough for you, the answer from Dr. Tayeb?
Thank you, Dr. Tayeb. I just curious about the amalgamation of Pashtun from Afghanistan and Pakistan, because I believe they have a different tradition between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So how they could adapt to different traditions. So yeah, I just curious, but I think you can answer.
Thank you, Akmal. The present government made a very huge mistake, the Afghan president, that they closed the Torkham border. Torkham border is a border which connect the Afghan Pashtuns with the Pakistan Pashtuns. Due to some political agreements, they closed that border. 3 years back, there was no visa on that border, no restrictions on going and coming, nothing. Everyone could go anytime they want. It was like open door. They could go, they could come, but some hidden agreement between the Afghan government and the Pakistani government, I don't call it maybe hidden government, but some wrong politics that the Afghan government used, Pakistan decided to close this door, which I'm personally against it. Let me tell you one thing. I am, my fiancée lives in Pakistan. Now it's very difficult for me to visit, or she come here. Like crossing the borders is a trouble. People from that side of the border got married with people from this part of the border. They have kids on that side. They have mothers-in-law in this side. So this politics was a very wrong politics. Now both government are sitting together in trying to bring these two sides of Pashtuns, the Afghan Pashtuns and the Pakistan Pashtuns, they're trying to bring them back together. I hope they succeed. Even one more thing, as a political student, keep in mind that some parties in Afghanistan are still striving to call upon the international community to connect the Pashtun tribes or the Pashtun people back to Afghanistan. But in this time, because Afghanistan has its own so many problems, they cannot even give foods to their own citizens. How they can support giving foods to the citizens on the other side of the border? That's also there, that some people from the both sides are advocating for bringing them back to here and making a general referendum. I hope it's clear, Mr. Akmal.
Thank you, Dr. Tayeb. I got the point, and the answer is very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now moving on to the next question, Dr. Tayeb. So I have a question from Gufron. I would like to read it since it's written in Indonesian language. So I would like to translate it to English. The first one, so Gufron has two questions. The first one is, if the constitution is based on the Quran and Sunnah, would it be changed or amended? And the second one is about does the Afghanistan people really believe that it is better to live under the Najibullah government rather than under Taliban? Is it right?
Oh, well, thank you. A very good question. Taliban's agenda is that they fought for Sharia law for 20 years. Their red line is Sharia law. Okay, it means hudud must be there. Sharia law must be implemented or followed in a country fully. That's what the Taliban want. But Taliban are agree on bringing changes on the current constitutions as well. This is also a point of discussion on the peace process talks. Their first priority, what they fought for, is Sharia law. Now it depends on those people who are there on the peace talk table. If they can argue and convince the Taliban, I don't think the Taliban will not agree to come to the point that let's continue these constitutions with some amendments. They will, of course, bring amendments to the constitutions. They will not accept the current constitutions, because these constitutions were made when Taliban were treated as terrorists. Okay, so there are parts of the constitutions which are directly or indirectly against them and can be used anytime. So they are ready for amendment, but they are not ready to accept the current constitutions. About the Dr. Najibullah and the Taliban era, in Afghanistan, every person have supporters, and every person have their oppositions. Taliban and Najibullah, Dr. Najibullah are two opposite personalities, let me say it, or maybe two opposite systems. Taliban are mostly religious person. Dr. Najibullah was mostly a secular person. Okay, so now people who are more religious may support Taliban and a Taliban-based system, or the system that Taliban are looking for. And the people who are secular-minded people in Afghanistan might go for the system which Dr. Najibullah is proposing. The Dr. Najibullah's supporters are very less in Afghanistan, very less in numbers. But Taliban or those people who are following the religious ideologies, they have a lot of supporters. The one mistake, maybe I call it mistake, a bloody mistake that Dr. Najibullah made was fighting with the religious figures, killing thousands and hundred thousands of the religious figures when they stood against his government. That was his bloody mistake.
Okay, Gufron, is that good enough for you? The answer from Dr. Tayeb, I think that has been answered. And Gufron, please confirm whether you have listened to the answer. Gufron. Okay, enough. Okay, thank you very much, Gufron. So now moving on to Raihan. Raihan, I think you have several questions to be asked. So Raihan here is my assistant, Dr. Tayeb. He has been
Very
working
good.
yes, for this semester.
Very good.
Raihan, please open your video and also your, if you want to open your video, please.
I think I can see the messages here, right?
Yes, yes, you can see the messages.
Okay, from Hadza.
Dr. Raihan. Raihan, please ask a question.
Assalamualaikum, Mr. Tayeb. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum assalam. Yes, of course.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Tayeb. So I'd like to ask a questions, but first of all, I've noticed that the conflict happened in Afghanistan has its relations with ethnic. And I noticed that Afghanistan government system is presidential. So my question is it possible that if Afghanistan changed its government system from presidential into federalism, could ending the conflict happen in the country?
Thank you. This guy is a politician. Well, Mr. Raihan, Mr. Raihan, as you know, you might giving lectures on the international politics as well, that both the presidential system and the federal system has its own pros and cons. It has its own benefits in advantages and disadvantages. Normally in countries, the big systematic countries who applied federal systems were successful. But normally those countries who were non-systematic, not developed, or maybe least developed countries, they were not successful in implementing the federal systems. In Afghanistan, it can be an option to let it to people to think about it and to decide, to give them what federal system or what state system is, and decide whether they want or not. But from my personal opinion, personal perspective, the number of illiterators are a lot in Afghanistan. Not everyone does not understand what politics are. As I mentioned before, only few ethnic leaders are controlling all the followers in their hands in playing with them. What I'm afraid of and scared of, if we go to the state system, to the federal systems, then these few people will take the country into 6, 7, or 8 countries and will divide the country into 5, 6, or 7 countries. That's the only scare. This is one thing. The other thing is the Afghan government now, or the Afghan as a country, we are all relies on external support, economically, politically. Each and every party or each and every ethnicity group leaders are supported and sponsored. I'm so sorry. Each leader has a supporter, international supporter. One is backed by Iran, the other one is backed by Pakistan, the other one is backed by Saudi Arabia. So the federal system will make the country nowadays 95% divide. But when the day comes that everyone is literate, everyone understand in Afghanistan what politics are, everyone understand what the pros and cons of the systems are, then of course, why not? We can put it in the table and we'll ask referendum or people what system they are choosing.
Okay, is that well enough, Raihan, or do you have any other question to ask to Dr. Tayeb? Raihan.
So far, it's enough, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tayeb.
Thank you. Yes,
No
thank
problem,
you.
no problem.
Okay,
and you're very lucky to be with Mr. Hadza. He's a great personality.
No, it's just my students are really great. They have asked very good questions to you and a hard one. We still have another question, Dr.
Yes.
Tayeb. So the next question comes from Habib. He's asking the question from office, so he cannot tell it directly to you. I will just translate it to English. Why Taliban? Why the conflict between Taliban America is brought to the table in Doha? What the benefits and also what is the progress behind the peace talks between the Afghanistan Taliban and also American governments, and how the thing will change, particularly after the election in United States?
Very good. Thank you. Let me be very clear. The simplest answer why American came to the table with the Taliban, they are failed in Afghanistan. Okay? They are militarily, politically, and economically failed in Afghanistan. This is the first answer. If you look at it from the other angle, the United States of America achieved what they wanted to achieve. Now they are there on the table. Okay, so 2 answers. First, they failed. Okay, they are, or maybe we can call it you're beaten. And the other one is they achieved what they wanted to achieve. So now coming to the point, Donald Trump is calling the soldiers home, using this as a election agenda to collect votes. Okay, but the national conscience of the American people nowadays are they don't want their soldiers on the field anymore. They don't want more people to kill on the field. Now the conscience and the majority of the American people are asking this. That's why the candidates are emphasizing on it. The American now they don't have the power, maybe I can call it the power, or the intentions to stay there. This is one thing. Now, okay, the question may rise, they can just take their guns and leave the country. Why they are sitting with the Taliban? That might be another question. Now, if they don't want to show the world that they are beaten or they are failed, Now, they bring Taliban, put them in the table, so to show to the world that, see, we brought peace to Afghanistan. Now there's no need for us to stay there. So they are looking for a reason to make a reason so they can live freely and without the comments of the international community. Okay, that's why they want to talk to the Taliban. Some propagandas are there that they have some hidden agreements with the Taliban as well. So what are the hidden agreements? We don't know yet. The Americans and the Taliban might know. There must be, their interest must be kept in those hidden interests with the Taliban media, or maybe the Taliban might accept it to keep their interests. We don't know about that. No one knows about that, only two parties. That's why this was the two sides factors. The international factors wanted Americans to get out of this area as well. We will not talk about it, but there were international factors as well that the America were forced or they needed to leave this area. Now, what the country is going to the future? There are two scenarios. First, the Afghan government is reaching to an end agreement with the Taliban. This is the best solution. The best solution. They reach an agreement, and then a joint government or whatever system comes after agreeing. This is the best option. The second option, which is analyzed by some politicians, that American might give the power to the Taliban. This will not be a good option. Well, for some time it might end the war, but then the government of Afghanistan will react. So if react, then again we're going to civil war. In this time, the civil war will be very bloody civil war. Okay. I hope the first action, the first option success, and I hope we reach to some peace to end peace. The Afghan government is now trying to bring some limitations and some problems to the peace process, but Afghan people are tired of war. Now other political parties are going in directly negotiating with Taliban. So there is one more option. If the government is trying to stop the peace process or to bring limitation to the peace process, the people in the political party will eliminate the current government and will think about an alternative government together with the Taliban.
Okay, thank you. Habib, I think that is answered well enough by Dr. Tayeb. Is there any other questions maybe from another friend? We still have around 15 minutes before we end this discussion. Is there any questions coming from friends, from ladies? Perhaps I haven't heard any ladies are asking questions here.
Ladies are angry with Afghans. They said Afghanistan government, Taliban are not giving rights to ladies, so we're not going to ask questions.
Yes, could you clarify on that? I think that is a very important point of clarification to be made, Dr. Tayeb. So how Afghanistan government would like to see women are developed in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, because this has always been a point of a debate for so many years. People are always criticizing the Afghanistan government for being discriminative toward the woman. Well, how would you give an answer to that?
Taliban was radical in woman perspective. That's a reality that we cannot hide our eyes. Taliban was radical about women. But from their interviews nowadays, from what they're promising the Afghan community, is they are not that radical anymore. The Afghan government nowadays are doing good in women area. Now, the Afghan parliament is the first parliament in the world having more than 40% women seats. The first parliament in the world. the Afghan government and the people, let me tell you very clear, the Afghan society, they have a special respect for women, for ladies. The only thing they want, the woman's activeness in the society is to be according to the norms, to the culture, and to the religion's standards. That's the only condition that the Taliban, the people, even the Afghan government is seeking the woman. Women can go to universities now. I'm teaching at a university with a special for women. Medical is there, the business administration is there, literature is there, so many other faculties. In so many other specified universities are there. Now in every university, education is co-educations. Women, men go together, sitting in a similar class together. They study at universities. Just in school, they're separate. The girls' schools are separate than the boys' schools, but in university levels, it's a co-education. So the current government must, and I'm sure they are thinking about the women rights, because women is half of the society, not only in Afghanistan, but in the whole. They are half in the numbers, they are half in the role that they're playing in the society. Without playing their role, the society is not reaching a better future. So what I think, following the Taliban perspectives, the government perspective, the people perspective, in the future government, if you now look at the negotiation teams from the Afghan government side, there are 4 women involved in the negotiation teams. In their first priority with the Taliban table, they will ask about Afghan women, about the women rights, about the women situations. So my hope, and everyone hopes is there, that the future government, hopefully a combined government, will take this very serious and will think about it very seriously.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tayeb, for the very insightful answer. Is there anyone would like to ask question before we end this discussion session? Because Mr. Tayeb would like to go for the Friday prayer. As you know that
Exactly.
in Afghanistan now is about 11,
12.
yeah, 11:47, I think. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Is there any other question from the audiences here, as well as students? Students, is that enough? I'm still waiting. If you have any question, please do ask some question. We still have around 13 minutes to go. Still waiting.
Mr. Hatza, I'll write down my WhatsApp, Facebook, in Twitter. If students have any inquiry, any research, any questions related to Afghan politics, related to Afghan society, I'll be more than happy to answer the messages and questions via
Yes.
Facebook and
Yes,
in
please,
Twitter as well.
please just share your information in the chat
In
box.
message, I'll write down. It's the same name in all social media, Tayeb
All right.
Islami.
All right.
Search it.
Okay.
They can find me on Facebook, they can find me on Twitter, and they can find me on any other social media platforms for any extra clarification on these issues. It can be political issues, the social issues here in Afghanistan. And it was very, very nice to have this beautiful
Yes,
chat
of
with
course.
our brothers and friends in Indonesia. I hope I can guest you one day, or Mr. Rayhan, or any other students to my class to talk about Indonesian politics, inshallah, one day.
Inshallah, one day. We would love to come to Kabul since we have also Indonesian embassy there. Yes. Is there any other question? I think there's no question from students. Uh, okay, so without further ado, so let's just say Alhamdulillah for this discussion. Thank you very much, Dr. Tayyip, for accepting our offer to speak in front of the class. And after this, we would like to take some photo. If anyone would like to open the camera, please open your camera because we would like to take some photo now. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Raihan, please be ready to take the photo, the screenshot. So here are the faces from all over Indonesia.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice. Please send me a photo as well so I can share it with my Afghan followers.
Of course. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
So
everyone.
there's one of our friend, our old friend from Thailand, Muhyiddin, as well is joining us here.
Oh, the Turkish Muhyiddin.
Yeah,
The
Turkish
Eskişehir
Muhyiddin.
Muhyiddin.
Yes. Of course, one of our friends.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Welcome, brother. Welcome, Muhyiddin. It's been a very long time.
Okay. So is anyone here? So can everyone open the camera? Raihan, I think everyone is already opening their own camera. So the rest might be not opening.
Okay.
Yes. So please just take it. Tayeb, would you please open your camera, please, for a while? Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Everyone take a pose. 1, 2. Okay, one more. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tayeb. Have a nice Friday today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Please pray for your brothers in Afghanistan, for a peaceful future in Afghanistan, and for a peaceful world, Islamic world. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Happy Friday. Jummah Mubarak.
Jummah Mubarak. Waalaikumsalam.